We live under the illusion that control is possible. You plan, you grind, you sacrifice, yet the mind that created the problem can't be the same mind to overcome the problem. Renewal of the mind is required. Transformation is required. Transcendence. Therefore, the ability to create better alternatives to overcome any problem that economists call trade offs does require renewal of the mind. Renewal of the mind, that phrase, it really has me thinking every single time when I hear that phrase. The first time I heard that phrase is from the Bible, so I believe that's where the phrase actually originally came from. Renewal of the mind. I also reframe this phrase as evolution through pain and focus. Paul's words in Romans 12:2 are a blueprint. Do not conform. Refuse to adopt the world's shallow patterns. Be transformed. Change from the inside out. Renew your mind. Refresh, reset, reprogram your thinking. Prove God's will. Discern truth from illusion. Why? Because the mind drifts. Without renewal, you become what the world tells you to be. Transformation begins where your thoughts go, because where your mind goes, your life follows. So I will put emphasis on this again. Why does renewal of the mind matter? Because your mind, it drifts. And you will follow the systems. You will be disciplined to the systems of what the world has designed for you. If you don't design your own systems, if you don't understand the systems, if you don't understand the grid and then be able to build outside of the grid, you will not be able to transform or evolve or transcend, because you will be stuck in a loop, the matrix, stuck in the illusion of your own world. And you will not be known. You will not know. You will not notice this. You will not be aware. You will not have any self-awareness, because your mind will not be renewed. Your mind will not elevate. You will not be evolving. So take note of that. Let that marinate in your mind. Let that marinate in your soul. You have to build your soul. You cannot become of this world and lose your soul. So what you have to do is neglect most of this world, which what I mean is neglect all distractions, which all distractions are from this world, and build your soul. So it's one or the other. Gain the whole world, lose your soul. Neglect the world, build your soul. It's just that simple. This is not about religion, it's about truth. Use what works. Reject what blinds. Evolution demands honesty with yourself. Without it, you conform to culture. Without it, you remain the old self instead of creating a new self. Where the mind goes, the life follows. How can we practice renewal? Study. Fill your mind with truth, scripture, data, models, frameworks. Capture thoughts. Audit and replace toxic patterns. Even prayer and meditation. If you don't pray, meditate, visualize, focus, concentrate, isolate yourself, be in solitude, let your thoughts evolve, marinate on your thoughts, focus on your thoughts, record your thoughts, write. Ask for clarity, visualize new realities. Guard influences. Who, what you consume determines your evolution. Renewal is not religion, it's physics of the soul. You can't evolve if you're recycling broken thought loops. It's just that simple. This is the illusion of control. You think you're in control. You grind, you sacrifice, you plan, but in reality, every system, market, and human interaction is rigged against your naive assumptions. You cannot. External control is an illusion. Internal control is evolution. Most people will wake up one day and realize the world didn't bend to their effort. It moved on without them. Most people believe they're in control. They're not. You only have control over yourself, nothing else. Control is the illusion. Routines do not equal mastery. Discipline without leverage is treadmill living. Just because you have a routine doesn't mean you've got mastery. Doesn't mean it leads to mastery. Routines are repetition. Mastery is when you connect discipline to leverage. Otherwise, you're just running a place. Discipline without leverage is treadmill living. You're moving, you're sweating, you're even trying very hard. You're working the hell out of yourself, but you're not advancing. That's the key. It's about leverage. It's about strategy. It's about the different mental models that you have to apply to yourself, that you have to use. It's about the different type of thinking frameworks that you have to acknowledge and that you have to use. Unseen mechanisms shape your micro decisions. Norms, incentives, geography, costs, all of those things affect your decision making. You're fighting yesterday's battles with today's tools. Imagine the Tower of Best. I wrote about this idea in my last in a couple of newsletters back. The unseen of the architecture of your pain. You can go on my Substack and you can read that newsletter. And I also talked about remembering your future. Dr. Lewis Howes discussed this brilliant idea. I also wrote about this in a past Medium article called Remember Your Future. So you're chasing discipline routines and you grind with efficiency hacks. You follow trends, but unseen forces are dictating every micro decision. What I'm basically getting at is that what I said earlier. Just because you're self-disciplined doesn't mean that you're being effective. It doesn't mean that you are on the trajectory of evolution. You can be disciplined in a loop of a system that is not designed for your evolution, for your development, for your transcendence, for your transformance. You're just disciplined into a system that is designed for somebody else's benefit. That is the loop. So, unseen forces that are dictating every micro decision is social norms, behavioral traits, market feedback, geography, and environment. So you think you're steering the ship, but you're reacting to invisible winds. Some systems are rigged against naive assumptions. External control is an illusion. Leverage is the key. Behavioral economics shows that humans consistently misjudge probabilities, value immediate rewards over long-term gain, and fall for illusions of fairness. Microeconomics demonstrates that every resource is scarce, every choice comes with trade-offs, and every small group decision has ripple effects you'll never see. Geography reminds us that no ambition exists in a vacuum. Terrain, borders, migration, and natural resources shape opportunity long before you ever make a move. Do you see this? Do you see where I'm getting at? You're reacting, not creating. You're solving yesterday's problems while tomorrow's systems reward those who anticipate. You have to acknowledge that planning and discipline is not going to get you anywhere if what you're planning for and discipline towards is not towards your future. You have to understand. You have to strategize. You have to make every single decision that benefits your return on interest, your return on investment. The better alternative to all of this is leverage. Like I said, stop chasing control, start building leverage. Instead of chasing control, master leverage, and this is how you're going to master leverage. I created this system, this cycle, red pill, dark mode, and then the polymathic synthesis and personal evolution. So you have to acknowledge reality. The red pill is the reality pain lab. Expose assumptions, track incentives, costs, unseen consequences. We talked about this. Don't just think. Treat pain, because pain is life's greatest teacher. Treat pain as data. Measure, test, predict. Here's my favorite, the process. Dark mode. Entering dark mode. Dark mode execution is obsessive focus, intense concentration. Silence the noise. You're not going to be distracted. Distraction less. No distractions. Deep work. Hyper focus. Scattered effort. Concentrate until new alternatives emerge. Polymathic synthesis. Integrate economics, psychology, philosophy, geography. Connect the dots across disciplines for hidden advantages. Personalize proven models into your own system. Personal evolution. This is the final phase of my pillar, of my cycle, of the system, of the utopian system. Personal evolution. This is the core, this is the brand, this is the philosophy of everything that I'm doing. When you think of me, when you think of utopia, when you think of everything that I'm building, just know that it starts with pain and it ends with evolution. The process is dark mode. All my writings starts with me facing the void. That's why I call my writings, my scribble writings, my random thoughts, my raw thoughts, even prior to me taking the red pill, being acknowledging reality. Even before me acknowledging reality, I have to have the intention, I have to have the courage to face my own void, to face my internal shadow, my darkest, the dark side of my nature. Fighting and confronting the dark side of my nature internally. And then after I can do that, after I can face my own self, and then I can acknowledge the reality around me objectively, not subjectively, objectively. There's two forms of reality. Subjectively, that's the reality of your own perception, of your own senses, of what you think your cognitive bias ways. And then we have objective reality. Objective reality is where you want to go. That's where what we call the first principles thinking. So treat life as a laboratory. Every failure compounds, every insight is a building block. Growth itself becomes leverage. Life is a lab. Clarity is the asset. I like to say that the world is my library. My office is my laboratory. My workspace is my laboratory. And I like to use the web as my digital notepad. So I have these systems that I create as I'm going along, as I'm building my business, as I am getting paid to be myself. As I write, I come up with all these different ideas, and I am turning chaos into order through writing. I think writing is one of the best things that anybody can do to start off with when they are facing themselves, when they are facing their pain, their demons inside of them, when they're facing the void. If you want to apply this today, I built the dark mode guide, and the dark mode guide is in the description, and it's within the letter that's pinned to the comment section. So you can get that off Gumroad. I think it's about $30, and it comes with a screensaver as well. So if you want that, you can take it. And also, I offer consulting if you also want to talk to me for an hour or two. You can schedule a consulting session with me as well. So you're capable of more than routine. You can master leverage, anticipate incentives, and connect disciplines. Every raw thought, emotion, and pain point you face is potential fuel. Convert it into a digital product, a framework, a service, a system. This is what I just talked about. This is what I do. I never been to therapy in my life. I think therapy is useless. And I have faced a lot of issues and I have faced a lot of dark times in my life. Times where I thought times where I was suicidal, and I just didn't know what else to do. But the first thing that I did do is I stopped feeling sorry for myself, and I faced my void, and I became darker than my own problems. So I'm speaking from experience, and so I'm really, the knowledge that I gained from the stuff that I went through, I'm literally just documenting it and announcing it to you. So if anyone that's watching this is going through anything, you can schedule consulting sessions with me, and I can literally educate you the steps that I did precisely to get me through the darkest times of my life. And it doesn't stop there, because again, my brand is evolution. I'm forever evolving. It's a lifetime commitment. I'm never going to stop until the day I die, and nobody and nothing is ever going to get in the way of that. I don't care about anything else but my own evolution. And I will prime your mind to do the exact same. It's the greatest thing that I've ever done for myself in my life, and I am distractionless, and there's nothing that life can throw at me that I'm not prepared for. I can just give it to you just like that, because I have such a clear vision, I have such clarity, and I am relentlessly, obsessively building constantly until, not until, not even until, there is no until. I'm just going to keep going and keep getting better in all phases of my life always. So if you want to me that stuff is easy. It's like obvious, but for some people when they see me do this, they're like impressed. They're in awe. How do you have the discipline, or how are you able to do this? Because it's a freaking priority of mine. That's why my evolution is a priority. I want to transcend. I want to get better in all phases of my life. I'm never satisfied. I am too self-aware to be satisfied with the situation in the current environment that I'm in. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't care if I'm living in a mansion. I'm not going to be satisfied. I'm going to want more. I'm going to want to keep going. So if you want that drive, if you want that type of mind, talk to me. So we'll proceed. But you won't clinging to, so comfort, distractions, and false control are chains. I want you to break them. I wrote about this, selling to the senses, and I wrote about selling to the senses, and it's an idea that I'm currently testing. Selling to the senses. I think this is a very brilliant idea. I think this is something that can really, that all entrepreneurs can take into account. So it's really just, so selling to the senses, that's where pain lives. Pain is the gatekeeper to value. Obsessively create better alternatives that overcome problems at the sensory level. What people hear, what people see, what people taste, what people feel, what people crave. Sell to them. Soothe suffering. Offer pleasure. Create better alternatives to what people consume, and you'll never stop being valuable. Wealth is made where pain meets sensory relief. So, as you're creating and building a product, I believe that you should take all senses into consideration. And if you really think about it, that's literally what all products do, different products do. So I'm thinking that I came up with that idea, but somebody probably already, this is probably something that has already came up with selling to the senses. Because to be honest with you, almost every single idea that you have came up with, somebody has already came up with it. It is, you can probably Google it or talk to AI about it, and it'd be like, yeah, somebody has already discussed this or wrote about it or whatever. So regardless if anybody's even labeled that, they're already, companies and businesses are already doing it. Products is already created for that. When you're eating, they're selling to your taste. Going to a restaurant, they're selling to your taste. When you're watching movies, they're selling to they're selling to your vision, to your perception, to your eyes, to what your entertainment, to what you see. When you are reading a book, they're selling to, the sense of they're selling to your what you see. If you're reading a book, you're visually imagining what you're reading. And sometimes when you're reading a book, it can make you feel, you can get all these different types of feelings. So, same when you're watching a movie or listening to music, it's stimulating your senses. So, I don't like speaking in terms of absolute, but almost every single product, every single thing that was created, built, a business, it's geared towards your senses in some form or fashion. They identified your pain, and they creating to overcome your pain, and they are selling to your senses. So, I've seen that most creators, most entrepreneurs say they sell to emotions, sell to feelings. So I would say it's kind of almost the same idea, but I think selling to senses is probably a bit more specific. And I will say that it can really help you to really pinpoint, be more specific of the idea and intentional of the product that you want to build. So this product can be a lot more valuable and it can be more sellable when you're creating it with the idea of, I want people to really smell this. Like if you're building a fragrance, obviously you want it to smell good. So, or when if you're building a phone or some type of software, it's like, no, I want this sense to be really stimulated when they use my product. You're being so precise with it intentionally. Like I said, subconsciously, unintentionally, it's already doing that. But what I'm getting at intentionally when you're doing it, I believe that the product can be so more precise and personal to the audience, to the buyers. So this isn't about thinking more. So this video isn't about thinking more. It's about thinking better. Thinking that pierces illusions, excavates roots, causes, confronts pain, and transforms you. That's the red pill of thinking. What I also call reality thinking. So I want to go to reality thinking. I talked about first principles thinking earlier. So reality thinking. What is reality thinking? There are different forms of thinking, and that we should use as builders, as creators, just in general. Even if you're not trying to build anything, if you're not trying to create anything, which I think you should, but even when you're pushing to overcome any problem, situation in your challenge, issue in your life, when you want to just evolve as a person, there are forms of thinking that don't come naturally to the human mind. We're wired for shortcuts, for comfort, for the obvious. But the first norm of thinking we must discipline ourselves to practice is reality thinking. This is something that I came up with, reality thinking. I researched this, and nobody has came up with this term, but I came up with this term, this phrase, reality thinking, as I was just writing, because I've already been talking about, acknowledging reality, taking the red pill. The red pill is literally just you acknowledging your reality objectively. So reality thinking isn't just about what lies in front of your eyes. It's about training your perception to recognize the unseen, the layers of truth hidden beneath the surface. Too many confuse reality with negativity or with being rigidly black and white, but reality thinking is something else entirely. There are ways of thinking our minds weren't built for. The first one we must train is reality thinking. Reality thinking isn't negativity, it isn't black and white. It's priming your mind to see not just what's in front of our eyes, but what hides beneath the curtain. To see the unseen, as Apostle Paul said. So he said in 2 Corinthians 4:18, so we don't fix our gaze on what we can see, but on what we cannot see. For what we see now will soon vanish, but what cannot be seen lasts forever. Most people live inside the grid. They confuse perception with truth. Reality is not what you interpret. Reality is layers upon layers upon layers. Beneath every event, a chain of causes. Beneath every cause, a hidden design. And if you can't train yourself to connect the dots others ignore, how can you ever evolve? How can we see as a species go further? How can we as a species go further? Not how can we see, How can we as a species go further? The question is simple. The answer is not, are you willing to see this? Are you willing to see it? Thinking isn't passive, it's experimental. Every bias, misjudgment, shortcut is raw data. Pain is the teacher. It exposes faulty reasoning. It unmasks illusions. It burns away weak assumptions. Here's an exercise for you. I want to, during my videos and as I'm writing, I want to give practical exercises because I want things that I'm building and that I'm creating to be practical. I want to really give you the incentive to take action because incentives matter. A lot of the stuff that I talk about is the foundation of it is economical based because economics and geography is economical and geography based because economics and geography are my bread and butter. Those are my fields of study. I went to school for economics and I was pursuing to get a degree in economics, but I decided that getting a degree was a waste of time. So I decided not to get it. So I decided to stop pursuing my bachelor's. Maybe I'll go back and get my bachelor's. I don't know. I think it's way much more of my time to build businesses, to build a conglomerate. I'm building a conglomerate and many different businesses and services under that. All the time I'll be pushing to get a degree. I can be putting all that time and energy and money into my vision, my long-term vision, building wealth, earning profit. I think it's so much better. And even with that being said, AI is advancing. Who knows that you can be spending all this time and money and effort and getting a degree, and by the time you get that degree, that job may not even be worth it anymore. That's the reality of artificial intelligence. That's the reality of our world right now. That's objective reality. So whether you agree with it or not, you can be subjective all you want. But the objective reality is that, yes, AI more than likely will take your job. AI more than likely will replace you. That degree you're going to right now, that school that you're in right now, for you going towards that degree, it may not be in existence by the time you get out of school, by the time you graduate. That's something you have to take into recognition. So that's why I say that I believe that everybody should at least pursue entrepreneurship, being a value creator. That's my opinion, I guess you could say. Let's move on. So the exercises that I'm talking about is next time, it's a quick, simple exercise. Next time you face a decision, write it down. This is a writing exercise. Identify incentives shaping your thoughts. Analyze trade-offs. Explore unseen consequences. Consider environmental influences. This is what I call reality thinking, the foundation of every evolution. I'm also creating a reality thinking worksheet and PDF so you can follow along. I don't want to go deeper into those steps. You can be able to get the PDF file, the worksheet off of that when I create it. So I'll let you know when that's done. So types of thinking to cultivate in order. I put these in order. These are what I believe what we should start off with our thinking frameworks. I believe that this is very strategic and this is give us the most leverage. So reality thinking, see the unseen, patterns, systems, first cause, first principles thinking. This is a very, very important thinking. I think it's probably one of the most popular thinking frameworks of them all. Strip assumptions down to fundamentals. Elon Musk is very known for that type of thinking, first principles thinking. He talks about it all the time. If you just Google first principles thinking, you're going to see a bunch of Elon Musk videos and talks come up. Critical thinking. Everybody is pretty much familiar with this. Critical thinking. Question biases. Dissect arguments. Strategic thinking. This is a very important thinking as well. Strategic thinking. Anticipate ripple effects. Plan contextually. Systems thinking. Map consequences across networks. Framework thinking. Build models to simplify complexity. Creative thinking, break molds, imagine beyond norms. Now, the definitions that I gave you are not limited to those terms. I just metaphorically broke it down a little bit for the sake of time and for you to really get a grasp of what I'm talking about. But please believe me, I will go deeper into those frameworks, those thinking models in later projects. Each layer builds clarity. Each layer compounds leverage. And from there, you enter dark mode, where focus becomes sacred. And from that crucible, personal evolution emerges. So we can go a little deeper into dark mode. The hyper-focused execution. Once illusions are exposed, you dive into the crucible. Cut distractions. Enter radical concentration. Build frameworks until a breakthrough becomes inevitable. No distractions, no noise, just radical concentration. This is the crucible where leverage is forged. Thinking becomes an art form. Deep work becomes a weapon. If you're serious about building this discipline, check out the Reality Forge worksheet that I'm currently building. This is a free tool that walks you through breaking illusions and forging clarity. I also talked about this in a little bit in one of my other videos called Why Pain is Your Greatest Teacher. You can check that video out also as well. Here's another practice exercise for you. Next time you face a decision, write it down. Identify incentives shaping your choice. Analyze the trade-offs. Explore the unseen consequences. Add environment and geography to the equation. So this is, I repeated this same exercise, but I did not add the fifth step, add environment and geography to the equation. So I wanted to repeat that so you can be able to use that full exercise. Do this daily. Do this every single day. Write down your decision, identify the incentives shaping your choice, and analyze the trade-offs. Cost beneficial analysis. I talked about this in the video. You can also look at that YouTube video when I talked about decision making and how geography affects it and the environment affects your decision making. That is master your decisions. They hit a reality of judgment, and explore unseen consequences. Add the environment, geography to the equation. All right. So frameworks of thinking. Here, so this needs to be stressed. Your environment is your lab, and it's crucial to your thinking and mind. Please, I beg you to also focus on investing in your environment to elevate your thinking as you make a life commitment of deliberate practice with these thinking frameworks. Monitor what you put into yourself. This may sound crazy, but so be it. You're going to have to sweat every single detail, for your vision to be tangible, what you hold in your mind to transfer into your hand. For your vision to be tangible, what you hold in your mind to transfer into your hand can be very possible if you go to the extreme. Sweating the small steps, the small stuff. I wrote a letter on Medium about imagination, thinking, and turning your tangible thoughts into reality. So you can check that letter out as well. It's on Medium on my profile. Always focus on the big picture, but you can't afford to think that some things you consider don't matter. They do. Monitor and filter what you read, what you watch, read, and listen to. Also monitor who you talk to. Spend time with who you date, and even who you have sex with. Don't kid yourself in saying sex is just sex. It's not. And everything you partake in has to be taken seriously from this point on. Take yourself seriously. When you take yourself seriously, you're going to start taking everything that you do seriously. When you do that, your standards are going to elevate and detachment will start to form more easily for you. For us to transform, we have to filter out the waste. Out with the old, in with the new. Just these behavior switches alone will leave you more space. More space for your thinking because you will have more clarity. Thinking alone is insufficient. Evolution demands integration. We talked a lot about thinking, but it doesn't stop there. It definitely doesn't stop there. Evolution happens when insight becomes action, structure, or product. Every idea becomes a framework. Every framework becomes a product. Every product becomes leverage. That's the cycle. Red pill, dark mode, personal evolution. Your thoughts are not just for reflection. Let me repeat that. Your thoughts are not just for reflection. They're raw material for digital products, courses, systems, coaching frameworks, content empires, businesses, companies, services. That's what I'm talking about. Another way to put this is every pain lab experiment, every dark mode session, every synthesis, seeds, journals, courses, content, coaching framework, systems, and etc., etc., etc. I don't want to keep repeating myself. Your ideas aren't just thoughts, they're assets. Think about that. Your ideas are not just thoughts, they're assets. Your thinking is a lever for creation, wealth, and influence. Okay? So every thought you write can become that. Treat your thinking as an empire building tool. If you're reading to start compounding, grab the Personal Evolution Framework. This is another framework book, the guide workbook that I'm building, and this will turn your insights into leverage. Suffering is a choice. Pain is unavoidable, but leverage, clarity, and evolution, those are earned and can be used to your advantage. So stop reacting, start creating. Step into red pill reality, face the void, step into red pill reality, enter dark mode, execution, and commit relentlessly to personal evolution. That's the cycle. I want to keep talking about that until that marinates with you guys so you guys can really get where I'm getting at with that. Because it's crucial. I'm just giving you different terms. The world won't wait for you. They'll follow your lead or wonder why you're still a step behind. I'll say that again. The world won't wait for you. They'll follow your lead, or you'll wonder why you're still a step behind. The more you think, the more you listen to your spirit. Thanks for watching so much. I really appreciate you all, And you all have a very great day, and we will be back very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you. And so thank you all so much for watching. That's all I have for you today, and we will be back very soon.